The cell was barely large enough for Nali to stretch her legs. Cold metal walls pressed inward like a tomb, pulsing with dim red warning lights. The stench of oil, sweat, and fear soaked the air. Her wrists were bound by energy cuffs that hissed every time she moved too fast. Her small body trembled from more than just a chill. She had been here for 2 days, or maybe 3. Time blurred in the dark. Outside, booted footsteps echoed in the hallway. She flinched instinctively. A large Valkyrie guard passed by, casting a shadow over her cell door. His scaled lips curled in a sneer. Still crying, "Little bug," he spat in standard, tapping the control panel. "Nobody's coming. You're just another slave now." Nali didn't respond. She pressed the broken locket to her chest, its small melody crystal long dead. Jace had given it to her when she was 7, back when she had believed in promises. "No one will hurt you again," he had said, kneeling in the rubble of her destroyed village. He had looked like a monster then, human armor blackened, visor cracked, blood on his hands. But his voice had been gentle. "Kind. You're safe now. I've got you." He taught her how to fix drones, sneak through air vents, and sing old Earth songs. He'd even let her braid the sides of his rough beard. And then, a year ago, she had been taken, ripped away by bounty hunters while Jace was off-world. She remembered screaming until her throat gave out. Remembered watching the stars as the caged ship drifted away. But she had never stopped believing. Not really. Not when she was sold. Not when she was beaten. And not now. The station shook slightly beneath her, barely a tremor. The lights flickered. A faint whine of failing generators buzzed for half a second, then steadied. A nervous murmur spread among the prisoners across the hallway. "Another quake?" The Valkyrie overseer growled, tapping his communicator. "Systems glitch again. Maintenance report." No response. Another tremor, stronger this time. The lights flickered a second time and didn't come back on fully. Nali's heart skipped. She sat up, her eyes darting to the sealed door. Then silence. Not just quiet. Dead silence. The hum of the power grid stopped. The alarms fell silent. Even the air recycling fans shut down for a breathless moment. The Valkyrie stepped back from the control panel, his clawed hand going for his weapon. Then it came. A boom tore through the corridor like thunder. Metal screamed as the wall across from Nali's cell exploded inward. Smoke and sparks flew through the hall in a violent burst. Guards were flung like ragdolls. Shouts turned to screams. And out of the fire walked a monster. A 2-meter-tall figure in matte black armor, pulsing with heat signatures and plasma coils. His shoulders were broad, back straight, every step heavy with purpose. A red visor glowed like a vengeful god's eye. Some guards fired. The plasma bolts sparked against his shield. He raised a weapon, some kind of hammer, glowing blue, and slammed it into the deck. The floor rippled like a struck drum, hurling enemies off their feet. He didn't pause. He moved like death. Blades sang. Bones cracked. Nali crawled forward, her heart in her throat. As the smoke cleared, he stepped to her cell door. He was taller than she remembered, and bloodier. But that voice, gravel wrapped in warmth, was the same. "Nali," she gasped. "Jace." His armored hand touched the control panel, fried. He didn't hesitate. He grabbed the bars and ripped them off like wet paper. He knelt, arms open. "I told you I'd come." Nali stared in disbelief. The locket in her hand sparked once. Then she threw herself into his arms. Behind him, alarms blared to life again. Reinforcements were on the way. But Jace just rose, shield flickering to full power, and turned toward the heart of the station. "Let's get the others." The walls bled sparks and smoke as Jace led Nali down the shattered corridor. His black power armor, scorched and battle-worn, glinted red from the emergency lights. Nali stayed close behind, barefoot and shaken, but moving with him, step for step. Every now and then, she reached for his cape, just to remind herself he was real. "Keep your head low," Jace muttered, "and don't stop moving." She nodded. Her voice was still stuck in her throat. The last time she'd seen him, she was being dragged into a ship's cargo hold, screaming for him as the hatch slammed shut. Now he was here, breaking through steel, tearing apart monsters. and he looked angry. Not wild or reckless, but controlled fury, like a thunderstorm aimed with precision. They rounded a corner. 3 Valkyrie guards crouched behind an overturned crate, energy rifles raised. Target sighted, one barked. Jace reacted first. He tossed a flashbot into the air. It burst mid-arc, filling the corridor with a burst of sonic screech and white light. Nali covered her ears as the aliens screamed, clutching their faces. Jace surged forward, hammer glowing blue. Boom! The first alien flew backwards, armor crumpled. Boom! The second collapsed under a blade thrust to the gut. The third tried to run. Jace's grappling cable caught his leg and yanked him back into a metal wall with a sickening crack. Nali stood frozen, watching the aftermath. Jace exhaled and turned to her. "You okay?" She nodded slowly. "Why, yeah, I think so." Jace tossed her a small stunner pistol from one of the fallen guards. "Don't aim unless you have to. But if you do, don't hesitate." She gripped it with both hands. "Got it." They pushed forward. Jace's onboard scanner showed the station's layout. Slave pens in Sector C, engine core in D, command deck at the top. They need to reach the core to shut down the station's internal defenses. "Is it just you?" she asked. Jace smirked under his helmet. "Me and about 30 million witnesses. This whole op's being broadcast. Helmet cams streaming to every free system from here to Orion Fringe." Nali blinked. "You're showing them all this? Not just a rescue. It's an indictment. Proof of what the Valkyrie are doing. And a warning." She didn't ask what kind of warning. The scorched walls around them were answer enough. As they approached Sector C, Jace slowed. A heavy steel door stood ahead, marked with warning sigils and biometric locks. Dozens of slaves were inside. Jace's HUD confirmed weak life signs, but so did the motion tracker. "Drones," he said. "4 inside. Auto-target." No hesitation. He crouched, opened his gauntlet, and deployed a bug drone. A tiny flying orb no bigger than a marble. It zipped through a vent, relaying visuals. Inside, emaciated prisoners lay in cells while automated turret drones hovered silently. Jace grimaced. "Get ready." He kicked the door with a force that buckled its hinges. Drones immediately activated, scanning targets. Jace threw a jammer grenade. EMP pulse burst across the chamber, disabling 2 drones mid-air. The other 2 spun to fire. He rolled forward, drawing his plasma blade, and slashed one in half. The final drone fired a bolt. Nali yelped, ducking just in time as it scorched past her. Jace turned and hurled his blade. The drone clattered to the floor, twitching, then sparked out. The room was still. Prisoners blinked in confusion. A few gasped as they recognized the symbol etched into Jace's shoulder plate. "The Deathworlder," one whispered. Jace moved to the main control console and slammed his fist into the override key. Energy locks on the cells snapped open. Shackled beings, dozens of species, stumbled out. Some cried. Others looked too broken to react. Nali ran to help a young Celt child up. "You're safe. We're getting you out." The Celt looked at her. "Are you with him?" She nodded. "He's my family." Behind her, Jace stood tall as the freed prisoners gathered. His voice, amplified through his helmet, rang out. "This station is falling. You want our lives back? Then help us take the rest of it." A ripple passed through the crowd. Heads lifted. Chains dropped. Nali looked up at Jace, a new fire in her eyes. "Let's tear it all down." He nodded once. "Then we move." The lights flickered overhead as Jace led the growing group of escapees through the wrecked corridors of Velk Station. What had started as a rescue mission now felt like a full-scale revolt. Freed prisoners marched behind him with stolen weapons, some limping, some terrified, but all following. Even fear couldn't hold them down anymore. Jace checked his HUD again. One last barrier stood between them and the control room. A fortified bulkhead connected to the station's AI core. That's where the Real treasure was. Not gold, not weapons, but truth. Footage, files, recordings of auctions, torture, forced labor. Everything the Valkyrie wanted buried. They reached a sealed corridor. Twin automated turrets descended from the ceiling and opened fire instantly. Cover! Jace bellowed, raising his shield. The plasma blast sizzled off his armor. He rushed forward under the fire, launched a shock mine, and dove into a roll. The mine exploded, taking one turret offline. The second turned toward the group. Nali reacted on instinct. She raised her stunner pistol, aimed at the turret's base, and fired. The bolt struck true, wires spat sparks, and the turret collapsed with a groan. Jace turned around, stunned. Nice shot. Nali blinked, hands shaking. I didn't think. You did good, he said quietly. Real good. They breached the control room next. The door resisted for 5 full seconds before Jace's hammer reduced it to rubble. Inside, a single Valkyrie technician raised his hands and whimpered. Jace kicked his weapon away and cuffed him with a pair of neural locks. The control chamber buzzed with screens, images of prison blocks, slave camps, and black market deals across 10 systems. Nali stepped in and froze. So many lives. So much pain. This is what they do, she whispered. Every cycle. Every world they take, Jace said, already jacking into the mainframe. That's why I came. With a few sharp commands, he inserted the encrypted spike into the core terminal. The screens blinked. Upload in progress. They'll see this, Nali asked. Everyone will. Resistance groups. Neutral systems. Maybe even some of the cowards in the Galactic Council. A harsh alarm blared suddenly. Jace's eyes narrowed. They know. On cue, the reinforced doors slammed shut, and red lights bathed the room. From a speaker above, a smooth voice echoed. You should have stayed hidden, Deathworlder. This is your grave. Heavy thuds vibrated the deck. The walls trembled. Nali backed up instinctively. What is that? Enforcer squad, Jace growled. Valkyrie elites. Fast. Brutal. Full exoframes. They're not here to take prisoners. He looked to the panicked prisoners behind him. Hold the upload. Protect this room. If I don't come back, finish it. Nali stepped forward. I'm going with you. Jace paused. You've done enough. Stay here. Stay safe. She looked up, eyes burning with something fierce. You told me to fight. I want to fight. He stared at her for a long second, then nodded. All right then. Let's go break their teeth. The corridor outside exploded with movement. 4 enforcers stormed in, each nearly Jace's size, covered in segmented battle armor, wielding multi-barreled plasma gauntlets. Jace hit them head-on. He moved like a fury unchained, blocking blasts with his shield, striking with the hammer. The first enforcer went down under a blade to the throat. The second caught him off balance, slamming him into a wall. Jace! Nali screamed. She raised her pistol and fired, but the bolt bounced off the enforcer's armor. The alien turned toward her, weapon charging. Then she saw it, an exposed port behind his shoulder. Without thinking, she sprinted, leapt, and jammed her stunner into the port. Snap! The enforcer screamed and convulsed, dropping to his knees. Jace surged forward, finishing him with a hammer blow. 2 more to go. They fought side by side. Nali ducked and dodged while Jace absorbed the brunt of the assault. He was bleeding, armor sparking, breath ragged. Finally, the last enforcer fell. The corridor was quiet. Jace slumped to one knee, tired of saving galaxies. Nali helped him up, then let them save themselves. You show them how. They stumbled back into the control room. The upload was complete. Every image, every scream, every secret the Valkyrie had tried to hide was now loose in the stars. Cheers erupted behind them. Prisoners hugged. Some cried. The technician in the corner sobbed in terror. Jace turned to Nali. It's done. She smiled through her tears. Then let's go finish the war. The command deck was in chaos. Alarms blared across Velk Station as emergency lights painted everything in red and gold. Fires burned in the corridors. Gravity faltered. Sparks rained from ceiling panels. Dozens of escape pods launched. Some slaver crew trying to flee, others forced out by the rising rebellion. In the control room, Jace stood tall, though barely. His armor was battered, one arm limp at his side, and blood soaked through cracks in the plating. He leaned on his hammer like a crutch. Nali stood beside him, face streaked with ash and sweat, but unafraid. The pistol trembled slightly in her grip but her eyes didn't waver. Across the galaxy, the transmission had gone out. Valkyrie atrocities, recorded, verified, unfiltered, were now live on every major galactic broadcast. The truth couldn't be silenced anymore. Enslaved systems were already rising up. Smuggler fleets pledged their support. Resistance cells activated. Velk Station's power core is unstable, said one of the former prisoners, working the terminal with surprising expertise. Emergency lockdown protocols have failed. How long? Jace asked, voice hoarse. 5 minutes until meltdown. He nodded. Then it's time we go. One by one, the prisoners moved. Some carried wounded. Others clung to one another like lifelines. Nali helped a limping Gorkai boy walk. She smiled at him gently, the way Jace once had to her. They made their way toward the hangar, stepping over rubble and burned-out security bots. Fires licked at the ceilings. Explosions rocked the station. When they reached the final blast door, it groaned open, revealing the dock. Jace's ship, the Ember Wolf, waited, hull black and angular, like a blade. A few more resistance fighters waited aboard, eyes wide when they saw the crowd following Jace. You actually did it, one whispered. No, Jace said. We did. They loaded the refugees as fast as they could. Jace checked the hangar's evacuation control and sealed off the last escape path. As he turned to board, he heard a sound behind him. Nali wasn't moving. She stood just outside the loading ramp, gazing back at the station interior, silent. Jace stepped down beside her. What is it? She clutched the broken locket. The melody crystal was glowing faintly, pulsing with stored energy. Do you remember what you said the day you found me? Jace's brow furrowed. I said a lot of things. You said no one would hurt me again. But they did. They hurt thousands. Millions. Jace didn't speak. Nali looked up at him, eyes sharp with something that had never been there before. We have to stop them all. He smiled. Not his usual smirk, not the grim line he wore in a battle, but something lighter. Proud. That's the plan. They boarded together. As the Ember Wolf tore away from the crumbling station, its rear cameras captured the final moments of Velk Station. The slave fortress, once considered impenetrable, collapsed in on itself. Explosions tore through every level. Then the core went critical. A blinding flash engulfed it. Nali stared at the view screen. The symbol of her nightmares was gone. A weight lifted from her chest. Jace stepped beside her and said quietly, "The first chain is broken." She turned toward him. What happens now? He gestured toward the view screen. Messages from resistance groups, refugee planets, and rogue fleets pinging in one after another. They saw what you did. What we did. Now the galaxy moves. She hesitated. But I'm not ready. I'm not a leader. You cried out, Jace said, and the whole galaxy heard you. That's more than most leaders ever do. Nali looked around at the others on the ship. Children, warriors, former slaves, now free and hopeful. Then she opened her hand. The broken locket pulsed one final time, then played the faintest whisper of a tune, an old Earth lullaby Jace used to hum. She smiled. No more chains, she said. Not for anyone. Jace grinned, tired but alive. That's my girl. The Ember Wolf vanished into the stars, leaving behind a destroyed Empire fragment and a signal flare that would ignite rebellions for years to come. Closing line. And far across the stars, on distant worlds once silent in fear, people heard the echo of a little girl's cry and stood up,